Let's go.
Bingetown, how we feeling tonight? It's your boy Dave here with Kyle and longtime friend of the pod, Alki. We are back again here to bring you more anime content with Attack on Titan, episode 79, Memories of the Future. For those listening to the podcast for the first time, Alki and myself, say hello, Alki.
Hey.
Sorry. Have finished the manga, while Kyle, so say hello, Kyle.
Hello.
Is our rookie watcher. He has not read any of the manga, so no need to worry. We will not be spoiling anything from the manga. With that being said, let's get right into it. This episode, we get more into Grisha Yeager's backstory, specifically his time on Paradise Island. And of course, we get more big reveals. So, as always, starting with our newbie, Kyle, what were overall thoughts of the episode?
Just, the show has such an ability. It honestly reminds me of Dark a little bit in the sense that there's always another level. And it feels like once you hit a level, it's like it could never get crazier. But there's so much in the show that I could never have guessed was going to happen. But this episode is definitely in that like top 3 of reveals and things of I would never have guessed that the Attack Titan's special ability would be like being able to see future Attack Titan inheritors' memories. That's just like so out of left field, and it's so interesting, and it totally just blew the story open again for like the 18th time. So this was a great episode. I feel like my mouth was open the whole time, and it went by in the blink of an eye.
Alki?
I didn't remember, or I didn't remember until watching the episode that is the Attack Titan special ability. I actually remember asking you, Dave, and I always say this every episode, how me and Dave have chats, but we have chats all the time about this show because it's banging. Just like what is the Attack special ability besides the fact that it's a brawler? And I guess it's this. I've said this a couple times, just like how great or big moments, especially for this past season and episode and season 4, part 1. But this was like such a huge information reveal this episode, and like Kyle said, I remember while reading it blew the story wide open as well, and it was a little confusing for me upon reading. Watching definitely helped clear some things up, but it still leaves a lot of questions, I think, for the audience. I mean, but like it leaves you wanting so much. It's not like questions where I felt things weren't covered or things or were poorly written. Like obviously the writing is great. The story, the content of the story it's just getting deeper and deeper the further we get into this season. So I'm excited to see the next episode. But this episode was great and it revealed a lot.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky. It always does with time travel. I mean, they're not necessarily time traveling, but when you are able to interact with events of the past and future, things can get a little tricky. I think Attack on Titan just does a good job of just keeping it simple. It's not too complicated. They don't want it to be overly complicated. But this kind of helps you explain a little bit more about Eren and what he's going through now. Now that he can see the future and things like that, it's just, you guys put it perfectly. It just blows the story wide open. So let's continue on with this. We open with Eren's birth. We see that Grisha is just very happy in his life on Paradise Island. And to add a little bit more to that, Zeke adds the comment, for a man who cast his old family into hell, which fairly accurate. That wasn't too long ago that this happened. And of course, that is still going to reside with Zeke specifically.
Yeah, he was just kind of getting his ass kicked this episode. I feel like last episode, he's like, oh, I faked the chains. Like, I've been here for so long. I have all the power. And this episode, Eren just kicked him right in the dick and was like, you thought.
Like, he built him up too. Like, Zeke got, like, it's so depressing for Zeke. And like, he's just reaching his character climax and Eren's just using that to his advantage, essentially.
Yeah. Each memory gets worse and worse.
Yeah. And I, last episode, I mentioned how Zeke realizing Falco had drank in the wine and how he was clearly upset to hear those news, and it helped the watcher view Zeke's humanity a little bit. We see a lot more of that too, because you see how wrongly, honestly, in my opinion, I think he has such a poor point of view of his dad. Granted, his dad was like a terrible father. He treated him like shit when they were in Marley, but he had this idea, and I'm sure Dave will get into this in his schedule, but he had this idea that he was this like very selfish, narrow-minded guy, but the whole time while he was in Eldia in the walls, he was thinking about Zeke, you know, it was really sad to see that for Zeke. You know, he felt, I think it crushes his goals and motives a great deal because he has this idea, he's playing it out because this second father figure helped him see the light or whatever, when in reality behind the scenes his dad never really stopped loving him, and it's sad, and it's like it adds to the great depth of the show.
I love Zeke so much more after this episode. Absolutely. You just got to feel for the man. I mean, this guy's another one like Reiner who's been through a lot at this point in time, and it's the two completely polar opposite point of views that he's been being fed to his whole entire life just clearly are just playing a role into this man's character today. And it is heartbreaking to see. But to continue on, what Zeke's ultimate plan is that he wants to show Eren that his father has done nothing but brainwash Eren this whole time. We get memories of him as a doctor, Zeke saying that it's just to get close to those in power so he can eventually steal the founding titan from the king. And they kind of both agree that he'd do anything, including cast away his children, just to restore Eldia, which obviously is not the case, as we learn later on. But we also get some quick shots of his interactions with like Hannes, however you want to pronounce it. Rest in peace to him. We see a brief interaction with him and Kenny Ackerman, which is really cool. So also rest in peace to that guy.
Is that rest in piss or peace?
I wish they explored his interaction with Kenny, because Kenny was a complete savage. But it was just like a still frame. I'm not complaining. It's cool that they crossed paths. Just saying, it would have been cool.
It would have been cool because I think they did have a good amount of interactions with one another. I'm sure they had a good amount of interactions with one another. Then after those shots, we get a shot of them arriving. When I say them, I'm saying Zeke, Eren, and Grisha, like as they're all traveling together, essentially, even though Grisha at this moment in time can't really see them. So they arrive at the King of the Wall's hideout years before he actually goes there and steals the founding titan. So he's been aware of this place for years before he stole the titan, which becomes important later on. I guess this just kind of shows his knowledge of everything and him just attempting again to steal the titan.
And this is I guess a good acting job from Eren, being shocked that he knew the location this early, because once you watch the episode and then you watch it again, you realize that Eren already has all this knowledge and knows this already. So I thought that was funny. I mean, when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, oh my God, wow. Like, yeah, you found it for the first time. Me and Eren are shocked together. And then you realize that Eren's just fucking with everyone.
Well, I think you answer this. I think that his dad knew about it because Eren told him. I guess that's an implication. Like you can infer that, right? Because of the power, right?
That's okay. Yeah. There's a scene later that I'm gonna ask a similar question about. That I mean, the whole nature of this time travel, like Dave said, can get tough, and it definitely leaves questions that I have. But we'll talk about them later.
Okay. We continue on with the flashbacks. We just continue seeing that Grisha is a very loving father. He loves Eren unconditionally. Zeke admits that he sees that Grisha delayed his restorationist movements and seems to have learned from his past mistakes. One night they're watching Grisha sleep at his desk. He has the picture of his family of Dinah and Zeke, and he's kind of mumbling and apologizing to Zeke in his dream. And he stands up and notices Zeke standing in front of him, to both Eren and Zeke's surprise. It's crazy.
That was whack. Because I was like, can he actually see him? And then when you find out that he can kind of see him, I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, because you kind of think that he's like waking up from a dream, almost like Zeke. Like he stands up and he's looking at him. He's just saying Zeke from like the perspective that he just woke up, but legitimately is looking Zeke in the face, and Zeke is just so shocked, and Eren is as well, even though he shouldn't really. He's just this is more of his acting,
Yeah.
but just so wild.
He even gets upset at this point, doesn't he? Because he's like, next memory, let's go.
Yeah, he's the one who actually is the first few memories. It was Zeke leading the charge, but now it's Aaron because the whole time Aaron's just been in charge. So,
well, I think that he was surprised just to see that interaction that Zeke and Grisha had. I mean, I know he might have planned it, but he never really. It's not really clear if he witnessed it like as an out of body experience the way he just did in that scene. So,
and he might have been already doing like showing up in the past too, and by himself. Like he never was able to do this with someone else, so it could have come to him a surprise to him that like, oh wow, he can also see Zeke as well as myself.
Right.
So that, yeah, and he might have had the plan, and maybe that's why he wanted to get him out of there so soon, is because he didn't want Zeke to start asking questions about how can he see me. He just wanted to keep going with the memories.
So the only reason Grisha can see Zeke is because he's traveling with Aaron, right?
I believe so, because they're touching. I think that allows them to like exchange abilities, and especially because Zeke, it might be because of his blood as well too, is why he's able to use and see Grisha as well. But this is just me theorizing, I guess.
Maybe it's because they're both in the paths too. Or
well, yeah, it's interesting because I guess that Aaron technically has the ability to go into Grisha's memories, and he has all of his memories already. But then Zeke, by touching Aaron, like Dave said, has access to those memories. But is that because of Zeke's new power that he has now in this other dimension paths area, or is it because Aaron is leading him along and making him think that he can do it?
I think it's the latter.
Honestly. I think it's I was going to say I think it's the latter as well.
Okay, that's interesting.
I think you're led to believe that it's like the founding Titans' power that Zeke is doing this, but in reality, it's not. And I think that, I'm sure we'll get to this as well, but I think that Zeke never had the founder. He never had control of it, which is what you kind of said in the beginning of the episode, Kyle. Like he never really had control of it. Aaron was just letting him believe this is all his doing, when in reality, Aaron's the leader, the conductor of this train right now.
My boy.
That's my boy. And then we get the great intro, rumbling.
No, it was different, right? It was a different intro theme.
He was saying that when we watched, and I don't know.
No, I think
it was a different part of the song or something like that.
It did sound like it sounded kind of like a different verse in the beginning, but then it gets to the great heavy metal part kind of at the end.
At the end. But also the footage was different.
Some really, of it. I'll have to go back and check that out. I feel like the song for me was the same.
I think
I didn't catch that,
but there was definitely some same footage.
We revisit that next episode.
Yeah. I honestly try not to look at the visuals.
Yeah, that's true.
Because for whatever fucking reason, every show ever in existence just spoils shit throughout their visuals in the opening. I'd never get it, but
I'm watching Fire Force season 2 right now, and literally the whole season is in every single piece that I've seen. I've seen in the freaking theme already. It's so annoying.
Yeah, like Demon Slayers looks great, but I just don't look at it because I know they're gonna spoil something. The One Piece ones have been,
by the way, right?
Yes. The One Piece one has been terrible in Wano. I feel like all of them have been so bad. They ruined so much stuff.
That's why reading is key, man.
Yeah, I just skip those intros usually. Like I'll try and listen without watching, but then after that, I just like I can't do it. Otherwise, I just don't want things to be spoiled. Alrighty. So after the intro, we see a young Aaron and Armin, and Aaron is talking to Zeke about he is like, Zeke's asking him, why did you betray me? Why are you opposing my plan? And Aaron's just telling him, like, I am who I've always been. And that's just someone who's fighting for freedom and a right to live in this world. That's why whenever Aaron says, because I was born into this world, it's more of him just saying, like, I just have a right to fight for my freedom just like everyone else. That's kind of what he's saying in those lines. He says it all the time.
Just a savage from the jump.
Sorry, he cites that sentiment with the scene of him completely murdering Mikasa's abductors.
Yeah.
So like that behavior was not taught, where Zeke thought Aaron was just like him, just like Zeke, because of their mutual connection via their father. In reality, Aaron is completely independent in these feelings. There's no outside influence.
There's two great parts I feel like of this scene, and it's been so long since I watched the first season, but when he says like I just like killed some monsters who happen to look like humans, does he actually say that in this scene in season 1, or is that a brand new line?
I don't know. It might be a brand new line because I don't know if we ever got this far into the aftermath of that
Yeah.
event.
Also,
I
that
can't
seemed
really
like that would
remember.
have like popped like been a bigger memory for me from
Yes.
season 1. But also when Aaron kind of starts laying it to Zeke straight a little bit in this scene, and that he's like, you thought you were gonna find some damaged little brother that you could easily influence, but like that is not me. Like I'm not that guy. Like I am very comfortable with myself. I've always been this way. No one changed me. Basically, that I created myself, and then Z kind of has a little bit of a decent comeback, but I just like how Aaron says, like, when I look at you, I just see like some damaged man who like can't get over this fact that your father was a bad father. And I thought he just kind of dunks on him in this scene.
Which is kind of ironic too, because it's funny that you're saying that Aaron was saying that about Zeke when I took it as him talking about like his father, his own father, which it works in both ways. Like he at this point in time, I feel like he just only views his father as just a pawn in his plan now because he's just he was too weak to do what Aaron is doing right now. And that's kind of how I took it, but it's crazy because it does work with both Zeke and Grisha here.
Yeah, and Zeke even has actually a decent comeback in that he said, "Whatever, that's fine. Like if Dad made me this way, then Dad's the one who's going to save the world," essentially, which is fairly ironic because Zeke at this point is still very confident that he's going to be able to use his abilities to euthanize all of the Eldians.
Yep.
Right. Sterilize.
Yeah, sterilize essentially.
Like Kyle said, Aaron is telling Zeke that they aren't the same. Aaron is one who steals freedom from others before they steal it from him.
Built different.
Aaron, yeah. Like Kyle said, sees a man who can't accept himself until he denies his father's wish to restore Eldia. He's a pathetic man still haunted by his father. Zeke, even though he has the founding Titan, still says he will never abandon Aaron. He still believes that they're one and the same and just is never going to give up hope on him. Next flashback memory we get is Grisha writing on the back of his photograph with his Marleyan family, and this is when he sees Aaron standing next to him again. So this is like the third interaction of them being noticed in these flashbacks. Now it is the day of the attack of the first attack on Paradise, and we get a reshot of Aaron's discussion with his parents about joining the Scouts and his dad leaving. However, when he tells Aaron he's going to show him his basement when he returns, we find out that he was actually referring to older Aaron in this moment and not younger Aaron. It still worked because he's looking him dead in the eyes, right? Like I'm pretty sure.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, Grisha's
That's
like,
how I saw it too. That's
he's
how
like,
I saw
when
it
I
too.
come back, I'll show you everything. And it's literally older Aaron directly in his face, and Grisha's like terrified looking at him.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a realization that I just had too during the watch, where I didn't realize that in the manga.
Mhm.
Wow, that's fucking awesome. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, he
However,
was looking right at him.
However, we know what happens next. Grisha is actually heading to the king's hideout, and he's pleading with Frida Rice to kill the Titans attacking the wall and save the people, but she denies, saying that they should just accept the sins of their ancestors. He counters with, why should innocent people who are completely ignorant and have no idea of their ancestors' sins have to repent? And Grisha, in this moment, as he's pleading, does get a hint of bloodlust almost from Aaron. Like he kind of looks over and notices Aaron, and this is where Aaron is. We get that another terrifying shot from Mappa of Aaron's face, kind of just pissed off at what Frida's talking about. He's like just absolutely furious that she sees this as the only way out for their people.
With good reason, honestly. I mean, from his perspective, when he was born, did nothing wrong. I mean, he was just essentially condemned to death for no fault of his own, essentially. And I just, it's hard when you're watching the show for the first time to like formulate an opinion on like such a kind of like a deep thought, I guess you could say. It just makes me, it's really interesting to me that when I'm on like TikTok, let's say, which is probably too much if we're going to be honest, and people have like philosophical debates over like who is right, like defend. My favorite TikToks are always people like dressing up, like, oh, like it's Sunday, like gotta get on like my tuxedo to defend like the world's sexiest war criminal, which is just Eren. But like people get in debates and shit in the comments section over like who is right, like what level of morality is involved in this. And I just think that's what makes it a great show, is that they don't really portray anyone as particularly good versus someone that's particularly evil. But I
Dude.
Well,
agree wholeheartedly.
not until we got to the deep shit like we
Yeah.
are now.
Yeah.
Season 1 clear villain was the Titans,
Yeah.
and then and then Reiner, Bertold, and Annie were then like the only deeper villain that we had beyond that. But now we know that's not all true. I mean, like the Fritzes with Grisha pleading to them, the honorary Marlians, the Eldians who live in Marley, like they have just the worst case of Stockholm syndrome of all time, you know, but also their reasoning, their logic is not, it's not entirely flawed, because I guess there is the truth that the old Eldians or whatever, they just like slaughtered all these people, and you know,
and I guess also that what is her name who's holding the founding Titan at this point, the girl with the purple eyes?
Frida Rice.
She has the memories at that point, right, of everything from the past. So I guess she has obviously a very well-informed perspective of the potential destruction.
But that's the king's vow, right? She's shackled by those memories and can't see anything beyond that, really.
And this moment with this thing, I'm Team Eren. No, you're good.
I think at the end, I was just going to make that comment while we were talking about Zeke and picking sides. And I was like, honestly, like I don't side with the sterilization plan, obviously, but by the end of this episode, I do find myself leaning a little bit more towards Zeke, just because I feel so much for the guy. And like Eren again being this monster, being portrayed as this monster here, like Jaegerist, kind of like I'm floating a little bit almost.
I stand where I have stood. I think that both have good reasoning, but I think both are a little flawed. We don't know Eren's game plan all the way just yet. I think that sterilizing people is like, how can you make that choice for someone else? I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so. I agree. That is obviously an absurd thought process to have for. It's desperate though. They're all desperate, and it's mortifying to watch, but it's also great entertainment for us.
It's fantastic entertainment. I mean, the fact that it makes you think a little bit, and we can have these discussions is honestly fun. I mean, this is not fun, but
it's things like this that made Death Note amazing. Like the morality and the philosophical side of things is just great conversation pieces. That's why we had to we had to do this.
Yeah, it's such an entertaining ride too.
I think what Death Note did a great job of doing as well is that it really showed the abuse of power and how it can mess with you. And I think we are in for a lot of that theme moving forward.
Yeah. So we'll continue on, and Grisha admits, saying that he can't use the founding Titan, but he says that each Titan does have a special trait of their own. And the reason the attack Titan has never bowed to anyone is because it is to fight the king's righteousness, and then it can and that we get the reveal that the attack Titan can view into the future, which was the big twist. And now we kind of get an understanding of Eren's plan a little bit here, and it's just holy shit, again, another layer to this whole story of chaos.
Yeah, it's just like we've said a couple times throughout this episode too, that this kind of stuff can get dangerous, but I have full faith in the author, in this guy. It's a guy, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It begins with an I. I know that, his last name, I believe. Their last name, either or. But it's just like so unbelievable that this is where we're at. That we get to a point where Eren then convinces Grisha to do the deed, which we all had assumed up until this episode that he did on his own free will because he was a psychopath. But we learned that Eren basically convinced him to do this. And just the greater repercussions of that are just like, it's hard to even wrap my head around it? Like, what decisions were heavily influenced? What weren't? What does this mean for the future? Because, like, what is the future at this point? Is there the potential that we're not even in the present when we're back to, like, if we ever get back to Shinigashima, I guess is where we're at, and the attack, like, is that actually what's happening? So I don't
Yeah, that's a great question. Is like how much real world time is being is passed right now? Like
yeah.
seconds, years. Like, are they going to wake up and everything's going to be over? Like, who knows what could happen? Um, we do see though that Grisha was like he was about to transform, but he stops himself. He notices the children running away and then kind of sympathizes with them, understanding that if this were to happen to Eren and Mikasa, that he would, absolutely break down. And so he can't really go through with it. But this is where things really start to get dark as Eren starts whispering to his father, convincing him just straight up to eat Frida rice and just kill everyone in that room. He's saying, isn't this what you want? Is it like you wanted to avenge Dinah and Kruger, all this stuff? And those words just really hit Grisha, and he just, in a fit of rage, just stabs himself and transforms. And we know the rest is history, that he eats Frida rice and has the founding titan. But holy shit, man, Eren is straight up a villain right now.
Just seeing the aftermath too in the next scene when he's like alone in that field, and the first thing he says was like, I did it, like I killed them all, like are you happy, Eren, like, or whatever, things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's, again, I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it 18 million times before we're done with this final season, but like, just never saw this coming, never saw this as a possibility that we would see Grisha kind of reduced to this state because of Eren.
Mhm.
Like, it's just like so crazy to watch. And shout out to, I saw this a little bit, people giving props to Grisha's voice actor, because that guy just put it all out on the line. It was so believable. It was very emotional and like heart-wrenching, just like seeing him react in this way to his son from the future, convincing him to murder young children to then further some insane plan of his. I just can't imagine the level of pain.
Yeah, and what I really liked about that scene is, I think Dave will probably talk about it, but Grisha verbally interacts directly with the time traveling Zeke and Eren in this scene.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that he does it with Zeke.
Yeah, they like hug or whatever. Like, did they actually touch or like what?
It looked like they did.
Yeah,
I feel like they did. But it's just, Grisha is leaving the hideout in shambles, completely mortified of what he did, asking Eren if this was all for the greater good, really hoping that what he did was, and if Eren is satisfied for what he did. And then he starts to call it to Zeke, saying that he's seen Eren's memories of what comes next, and it is terrifying. He sees Zeke then and completely breaks down, admitting to his wrong treatment of him and that he has always loved him and wished that he had spent more time with him. This completely wrecks Zeke, and he also begins to cry. But Eren breaks the reunion, and that is the end of the episode.
Bro, Eren's pose too. It's just like standing there menacingly, like you can't see his face. He's like, "Let's get on with it, motherfuckers!" Like, oh my gosh, man. But this is a question that I had is, at what point does Eren begin influencing Grisha? Because
I was just going to ask this.
Yes.
I was just going to ask
I'm
this.
and the main reason I asked the question is because at this point we know that after this whole scenario where he kills the king's family and everyone, and then he has this breakdown where he's like telling Zeke, hey, you need to stop Eren. Doesn't after this, he gives Eren the Attack Titan power. Like, he lets Eren eat him. So why would he do that?
Like, why would he let Eren just eat him?
Because that seems like that would be the best opportunity to stop Eren's future craziness, would be to not let him get the Attack Titan power.
I think
he's also suicidal at this point in time. I don't know. Like, he's already lost. He already knows. I think he already knows his wife is dead.
But also, you have to assume he's seen the future. So he's forced to do this.
And what he said is like still kind of ambiguous. Sure, of what comes next is terrifying, but like there could be a point after that, in which he,
Yeah.
you know, is willing to let Eren eat him for that reason potentially.
I could also see him like kind of not like relinquishing his responsibility, but he does say in this scene like, Zeke, you got to stop him. So he might be thinking like, I can't do anything at this point, so I just need to play my role, and then hopefully Zeke in the future will be able to stop him. I could see that angle.
And I really think that, to answer your question too about when did Grisha start getting influenced by Eren, like we see the points in time at which Eren and Zeke are like going through the memories. So Eren and Zeke like aren't always there. Like it's not like Eren is just constantly going back in time. It's just that as we're going through it in real world time, this is the moment in time they go back. And so they're only really there for the important moments of Grisha's life, which seem to be like at his low points and when he's still kind of conflicting between his Eldian or his family on Marley or his family on Marley and in Paradise. Like I think it's just really in this moment that he's influenced by Eren's decisions potentially.
Think, like killing the king.
Oh, and we
I
also
not
too
king, technically.
And technically too, I mean, Eren also could like we get that shot of Kruger with Grisha when he's telling Grisha to eat him, that he's like, you got to protect Armin Mikasa.
Armin Mikasa and the others.
He's like, who is that? And he's like, I don't even know who they are.
He goes, whose memories are those?
Yeah.
Yo, this is where.
Do you remember that, Kyle? You remember that scene?
Now I do.
Yeah.
This is where I'm fucked up.
That's why that moment he's like, he knows their names because Kruger could also see into the future, which is more confusing for us. But go ahead, Alki. I'm sorry.
Mine is like, this is a multi-layered discussion / question, but it's related to all this and it's really fucking me up because first things first, was Eren the first person to unlock the future sight? Okay. I think it's a reasonable question, and I don't think we'll be able to answer right now.
I don't think he's my guess would be I don't think he's the first person ever.
But he's probably the first to like do this deep shit with it.
It seems like it's probably the first in a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure when the Titans were at their like initial power, when Eldia was like OG Eldia was being fucking crazy people, I'm sure they might have been able to do it a little bit.
Let me chime in real quick. I think it's a combination of one, like we've said before in the past, how Galliard kind of unlocked the Jaw Titan's full potential. Like I'm thinking something along the lines of Eren doing the same here, but also at the same time that Eren has had so many like Eren and company on Paradise Island have been the ones to discover the full history of everything. Like Eren has been able to have those interactions with Historia, Dina. So he has had the moments of being able to touch the royal blood and use the Titan's ability to its fullest, whereas Kruger and Grisha they never had that opportunity. So they themselves may have never known that they could see into the future. And maybe for someone like Kruger in the past who didn't really have full understanding of the Attack Titan's abilities, when he does get those future memories, he's like, he probably assumes to himself that those are just like long time ago, like memories, not in the future. He thinks they're probably from the past. So
yeah, that's a good
point. I think it's just a combination of all that.
Mm-hmm.
But
also, I guess Kruger was fairly restricted in how often and well he could use. It's not like he could be using the power as often as Eren does. I mean, Eren turns into a Titan pretty much every day he's alive at this point. So.
Yes. Yo, but like you guys are all right, and I agree with everything, but it unlocks another piece of this question, right? For me, because Eren didn't tell Grisha to like mentally abuse Zeke to plant the seed, because Eren didn't have the power, and also he didn't need to. Grisha didn't have the power. It was Kruger then. But it is possible that he was influencing Kruger to murder and Grisha's sister.
Oh, spit.
Right?
Yeah, to become Al.
Yes, but this goes even deeper, right? When we go and we see them traveling through Grisha's memories, it's Zeke and Eren in their clothes that they had, or in the moment you assume after all that battle went down. I think that it may be possible that Eren did not plant all these seeds until they touched. because
Really?
the time moves so slow in these paths. And this is the first time Zeke and Aaron have walked through it. And Grisha is responding to the Aaron that we know as far as this show has gone on. Like Aaron, present day Aaron, is the Aaron that Grisha is seeing. He's not seeing scouting Legion Aaron. He's not seeing time skip Aaron. You know,
Yeah.
we're seeing this Aaron. We're not seeing the Aaron after they like defeated all the Titans outside the walls.
Okay.
Like we're seeing this Aaron. So I think that it's possible, like it's a theory, but I think it's possible that because there's no concept of time like in these paths, it's possible that while he's sitting there talking with Zeke, he's like going everywhere, all the way back to who knows what, and planting all these seeds to lead to this fucking moment right now.
It is. I mean, everything Aaron has done planting these seeds has absolutely been so that he can, in this moment after we see Grisha and Zeke interact, is so he could eat his father and get the founding Titan. Like everything he's done is so he could become the founding Attack Titan.
So just to clarify what you're saying that Aaron has never used this power until right now when he got his head shut off and he got transported to that area. Which then in turn technically means that he had been using it throughout the whole series, which
this is what made me think about it.
It's the bootstrap paradox.
This is what made me think about it. We just watched Prisoner of Azkaban, right? All this shit happens in Prisoner of Azkaban. They're in Hagrid's house. They see the rocks fly through the window. They look through behind them in the woods, and they're like, "What the fuck happened?" Right? But then you realize that Harry and Hermione did that, but they didn't go back in time till after all those events happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe I'm trying to say that maybe this shit is like, it's similar. You know what I'm saying?
I can see that. You've seen Dark, right?
I've seen Dark. Yeah, and it's like it's just like that.
Idea. Yeah.
It's the same idea. And I think it's a common like time travel theme. And I know he's not traveling in time, but he's obviously influencing current events based on his knowledge and power, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not really coming to the conclusion that he did all this stuff now. It's just like, I want to know, when did he start?
Yeah.
You know, like when? Because as far as I'm concerned, it seems like this is all happening right now. Like he told Grisha, go kill those people in the scene we just watched. We didn't see Aaron and Zeke and then another Aaron tell Grisha. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where it's crazy to talk about. That's all I'm saying.
That's the danger of introducing concepts like this, is that it's kind of hard to make it all make sense. But honestly, it could be completely paradoxical. I mean, the bootstrap paradox, which is kind of what a lot of like Dark and I guess Harry Potter too are built off of, in a sense, in that like there's cause and effect, but like technically that effect is what then is the cause of the original cause. So everything kind of just like rolls in a circle of there is no first.
Right.
Just like it's just happening. I don't even know it. So
it just doesn't.
Yeah,
it's so confusing.
The words just barely fall out of my mouth
But that's it. You're right. That you're absolutely right. That it just becomes a cycle, and the cycle can technically continue to move on. It's just
it's just like an infinite loop. And does the starting point even matter at this point? I don't even know.
Right. Well, it doesn't. Like, bottom line is he's making this shit happen because he's. You know, and it's just, I just think it's so cool, you know, and that was great. When I was reading, I was like, when did he do this?
Yeah.
You know, and then when I was rewatching, I was like going into Dave's room, like, dude, when the fuck did he do this? Because I knew this was happening, but now makes a little more sense to me. But still, it's just like, it's just crazy. So like, obviously I think like what I said about him creating the owl through Kruger, I think that's true.
That's fine.
I think he did all of that to make Grisha into the Attack Titan. So also Grisha's wife ate Aaron's mom, who he then later touched to like awaken the coordinate. You know, like all that shit is planned.
Aaron like you can also look at it like Aaron got his mom killed too at the same time. Like Aaron planned that. Yeah. Aaron planned that too. Like Aaron literally did that to himself.
Aaron puts himself through this terrible life.
Yeah. exactly. Like
Right.
he does this to himself, which
Yeah,
is
he
so
does it.
wild.
He
No,
does it to
that's-
himself.
Exactly. So that's like that. When I was talking about Dave, I'm like thinking to myself, did this happen multiple times? And this is like the nth try of him trying to do this. You know what I'm saying? It poses
Yeah.
a lot of questions.
That's
And
a
I
really
think-
good point.
You know what I'm saying? And this is why the show's so good, bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is why it's so good.
Yeah,
We
it's
get-
true. Is this the first cycle, or is this like an nth level cycle where Aaron is maybe like tweaking little things to get his plan? Oh, fuck.
The solo leveling treatment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or the dark treatment,
Treatment,
right?
yeah.
That's what dark is all about.
Shite.
This
All right, well-
episode just blows. Every episode is just a reveal at this point in time.
I can't
It's-
wait for next episode.
I actually forget what's going to happen in the next episode. I just know we're close to big events happening. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I mean, this Sunday I'll be caught up, so it'll be fresh Demon Slayer, fresh Attack on Titan. That's quite the day.
Dude,
Yeah.
Demon Slayer is flames. Dude.
It's so good
It's
right now.
flames, dude.
It's
I'm gonna
so
start
good.
this weekend, I think.
Bro,
I'm gonna
just
finish
watch
it.
it. Just
I'm
stop
almost
fucking around.
caught up in Fire Force. I did a
Fire
binge
Force is
today.
good too, but I'm honestly getting a little sick of this season. I think it's a little bit like, I don't know, like it could be a little more serious. But
The calendar is annoying. I don't know why we're doing the calendar.
what?
You know what I'm talking about? The fire department calendar.
Oh, that's just it's like
Yeah,
10
I know.
minutes.
All right,
It's
all right.
fun.
Back on track of
Yeah.
Attack on Titan.
That's
Go
everything. I
around
think.
for
Episode ratings.
episode ratings, starting
Oh
with
my
Kyle.
God.
This one's gonna be tough, man. This one's tough. So I think last episode you gave a 10
last
out of
episode was a
10.
10. I think this is a 9.5. I think
Okay.
the shit that happens is crazy, and like the ending of the episode makes the whole episode so much better, and it makes the show so much better. This is an episode that makes the entire show as a whole like kind of clicks it up a notch. But I do think that it's a step down from last week, because last week I was like just sweating, heart racing, not breathing, like going crazy. So I think that last week's was a little bit better from an enjoyment level. So this is a 9.5.
I'm saying 9.5. I don't remember what I said. I said 9 or 9.5.
I think you said not. You said 9, but you also could have given it a 9.5. You said I think was your final
Yes, I
of
think you're
last
right.
week's.
I think this is a 9.5 because like these types of episodes it opened a whole can of worms, man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what the next episode is gonna be. I guess I do because I read, but like it was just so groundbreaking. Like this is the type of episode like when you can watch it going back and you can rewatch it. You don't have to watch the episodes before and you'd be like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm
this
saying?
This is like a foundational episode. Like when this show's over
Yes.
and I'm thinking back of episodes and like or things that happened, this is one of the things that's going to totally be there. Like Levi versus
Absolutely.
Beast Titan and that whole like the battle for Shinigashima is there. Irwin's final charge. Like just
Reveal of Reiner and Bertold.
reveal of that. Like
Annie.
there's so many moments like that, and this episode as a whole pretty much fits in that box.
You're on the edge of your seat because they reveal a lot of information. They toy with your feelings a great deal, and you learn a lot about like Grisha too, which he was mostly a mystery. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, he came off as very kind of almost one-dimensional up until
Right.
this episode.
yes.
I am going to go. I think I went with a 9.5 last week. I'm going to go with a 9. I completely agree, Kyle. I love the way you put it. That when you think back on Attack on Titan, this is absolutely going to be one of those moments where you're just going to be like, this is a moment that changed the manga or the anime rather as a whole, and the direction that it's going to go is definitely going to change a lot because of it. So, got to give it a 9 out of 10 here. I love, you guys know me. I love a little action, so a nice little fight in here would have tipped it off a little bit more for me. But as far as reveals go, this was a 9 out of 10 episode. I mean, truly incredible stuff, groundbreaking, and oh man, next week is gonna be so good.
I
I
can't
want to
wait.
know. Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say. I wonder, like, when this shit came out in manga, like when it was written. You know how you read the One Piece Reddits and Discords every week. Like, I wonder what people were saying before this reveal. Like, what were people thinking is happening? You know,
I could probably ask Robin, because as soon as she got into this, she was on that Reddit probably for hours a day. So I'll see what she was saying about this part.
Yeah, I mean, if
I'll
you really
admit, I
want to
never
know,
went
too,
on those Reddits.
yeah, you could probably go back and find
Yeah, you
it.
could just look at the chapter. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, boys.
All
Lit.
right, everybody. Thanks for listening to our coverage of Attack on Titan episode 79.
Woo.
We'll keep out for next week's episode. We'll be covering episode 80, of course. Look out for our coverage of Letterkenny and Dexter. We have a few great episodes, interviews, and things like that going along with them.
Some
this
pitch
is
towns, too.
Yeah, some pitch towns on the way. We just
What?
dropped Manifest as well, so
The
be sure to
Last
listen
Kingdom.
to that. The Last Kingdom, that was an
Gotta watch
amazing
that.
watch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, subscribe to our Patreon, Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. Yeah, we got
not doing
YouTube,
that.
too.
I'm
Yeah,
not
everyone-
paying money for this shit.
Everyone's checking
YouTube.
out these beautiful faces.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. You know the whole ordeal. Thanks for listening. This is Bingetown TV.